Hello, you're listening to the Eric McKenna Project.
We just go.
Let's do it.
Thanks for doing this, man.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
Appreciate it. So, I a lot of questions.
I'm ready to answer.
Yeah, and the story is so unique, and
Yeah.
you are an example of social media, I think, in this town done right. I want to commend you.
Appreciate that.
From all that I can see and knowing a little bit about your story. And you've been doing a lot of press, been doing a lot of podcasts. So if you're being repetitive again, I apologize for putting you through the ropes again. But hopefully some of the questions and some things we do will be a little different as well too.
Of course,
in the way we structure it.
Yeah.
Hey, your background. Give me the 60-second background on you for our audience.
Yeah, I mean, kind of grew up a normal kid in Reading, Pennsylvania.
What does that even mean?
I don't know anymore. I'm trying to figure it out for my son right now.
Right on.
Yeah, so grew up in Reading. Always kind of knew I wanted to be a chef. I don't know where it came from. Nobody in the family was in the industry, but my mom has the pictures of me in second grade drawing pictures of a chef. So it's kind of all I've ever wanted to do. So kind of went to like a VOTEC school in high school, went to Culinary School after I graduated high school. Went to it's IUP. They have a small culinary campus.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's only about 100 students a year.
Did not
1
know
year
that.
program, kind of in and out, like August to August, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 every day.
Okay.
And that's kind of what I was looking for. Like I didn't want like a full 4-year like college experience. I knew what I wanted to do, so I wanted to kind of get that base knowledge and then get out and start working.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I did, and then got out into the industry and started to get the experience.
Yeah. Here in Pittsburgh.
No. So
you went back to Reading?
No. So I first moved down to Key Largo, Florida.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm here now. I should be down there.
I was just gonna say, you went where, and you're where now?
Yeah. So I did my externship down there. I did like a 6 or 7 month externship. It's great. It was it's called the Ocean Reef Club. Beautiful private resort. They've got like 14 different restaurants, a huge banquet team, like food trucks. They've got, from fine dining to super casual, they have it.
Key Largo is the middle island,
That's
right?
the first one.
Okay,
yeah,
so
that's
between Key West and the mainland, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So really, it's beautiful down there. So I did that. Really enjoyed it. But my wife at the time, she was living in Pittsburgh. We were dating, and you want to be with, it's young love, right? So I moved back up. I moved up to Pittsburgh.
You were in paradise.
Yeah, I know. So
sorry.
I moved to Pittsburgh for the first time and got a job at it was called Salt of the Earth over in East Liberty, Garfield, owned by Kevin Sousa. I was like doing some research, and that was like the hot restaurant. So
correct.
Yeah, so I applied and got a job, low man on the totem pole, kind of starting out. And really just kind of like, that was like my first dive into like real cooking in a real restaurant, like out of the resort life, and kind of seeing like fast paced every day, high level food. And I loved it. It was great. Like it was like the spot in town at the time. We had all the industry people coming in and just a really great guest. So it was cool. I learned a ton, and stayed there for about 1.5 years.
As a chef?
As just like a line cook.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of working my way up.
Okay.
But it's kind of crazy because like I've always been really good about like making good connections with people and building relationships and just being like upfront with people. And I kind of credit that to like when I was down in Ocean Reef, I think I made a good impact as an extern down there. Mm-hmm. And sure enough,
what is an extern? People are going to ask that question.
Right, basically just like an intern, but done at the end of your education.
Okay.
So I was there. I got paid, but again, I was just very low man on the totem pole. Like I was
it's an entry level position.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Even maybe a little bit less than you're not even quite that high. So when I was down there, made good impressions, and then when I was working at Salt, it felt like, honestly, it felt like almost every single week they were calling me, trying to get me back. And that felt great, right? Like I was down there as an extern, and these guys are like one of the top resorts in the country, calling me every week, trying to get me to come back to work there.
Right.
So eventually, like, I felt like my time at Salt was coming to an end, about 1.5 years into it. So I talked things over with my wife, and she comes from a culinary background too. She's a pastry chef. And so sure enough, that we waited for that call to come, and it came, and I said, hey, I'll come back, but my wife needs a job in the bake shop. And without even, interviewing her, looking at her resume, they said, okay. And we made a plan. We moved down there and moved back down there for about 3.5 years.
Okay.
And got to really I got to learn management at a high level at a young age. So when I went down there this time, they hired me back on as a cook too, which is like mid-level cook.
Okay.
In their banquet kitchen, which is where I wanted to work. It's, really, as banquets are concerned, it's one of the premier banquet teams in the country. They can do a banquet from anywhere from 2 people to 10,000 people every week. That's easy. That's normal for them. So I really wanted to be in there. So they hired me back as a cook too, but I was really motivated that I wanted to be a sous chef, which is right underneath the executive chef. That's what I wanted to be. So within a week of getting down there, I made a meeting with their culinary team, their executive culinary team, and said, hey guys, this is what I want to do. What do I have to do to get there? What do you guys have to do to help me get there? And we put a plan in place. And within about 3 months, I was promoted to cook 1, which is the top cook position. And then within about 6 months or so, I got promoted to sous chef of a $30 million kitchen with
quick,
a team of 30 or 40 cooks underneath me, all much older than me. I was scared shitless, right?
Okay.
I'm a 21-year-old cook that, it's crazy because on, let's say, Monday, I was your teammate, your cook, right? And then Tuesday, I'm your boss. And these are 40-year-old guys that this 20-year-old kid is now telling them what to do. So
you learned management quick.
Yeah, I learned it real quick. That was the biggest thing for me being down there, was learning how to manage people and how to run an operation of that size, and learning that in a kitchen, not everybody can be managed the same way. Some people react to certain types of management styles and some people others. And I learned that the hard way for some ways. I lost some friendships and people just just being bitter that
no doubt
can't support your friend. And but at the end of the day, it proved to be really instrumental in just building confidence in my career, learning a ton, and just honestly having fun. I was living in the Keys,
Okay.
Yeah, great job. I pretty much had the summers off because it's a seasonal operation. So they're open year round, but in the summers there's not as much going on because it's so fucking hot down there I could travel and do all these things. And that's when I started doing different competitions and different things around the country that kind of really just opened up my eyes even more.
Did you ever get used to that heat?
No, it's tough, man.
I bet.
The heat and the bugs.
Humidity?
Yeah, it's tough. We got lucky. We ended up renting part of a house that was right on the water, bayside. So we had about crazy 3 acres all fenced in. It was beautiful. Yeah.
You had 3 acres.
Not all our landlords lived there too.
Yeah.
A really great couple. They had all these chickens, all crazy, and nice big dock. So we had the sunset every night, but it was rough just because the bugs. You walk outside in July, and it's just, you get
just certain
swarmed.
seasons or certain months.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, during December, it's beautiful. You can't beat it.
Oh yeah.
So
all right, sorry about that. A little side. Florida fascinates me. So
yeah, so that's where I was for about those 3.5 years. And then I guess I'll say too, while I was down there, I started just kind of really diving into fine dining and exploring that whole side of the industry, because it really fascinated me, just looking up to some of these chefs in the industry that were doing some of the best food at the time in the world at such a high level. It was so intriguing to me, and I wanted to learn it, and I wanted to be around it. And so I was just always itching to immerse myself in that. And Ocean Reef was cool because they brought down a lot of different guest chefs, celebrity chefs, all these things for different events or private dinners or whatever. And for one of these events, they brought down a chef named Rich Rosendale. He's a certified master chef, one of the best chefs in the country. And I'm not sure, are you familiar with, it's called the Boku Store?
Yeah.
So the Boku Store, for anyone that doesn't know, it's the Culinary Olympics. It's held every 2 years in Lyon, France. Yep. And it's really like the Olympics for food and beverage. And Rich Rosendale, he competed in 2011.
That's where I think I've heard his name
from. So
okay.
He's just really this incredible chef. So he came down to the resort to do an event, and he reached out to our team there and said, hey, I need one extra body. I need help with this event. Can you guys spare anybody? I volunteered right away. This is a great opportunity, right? So spent like 2 or 3 days with his team doing this event, and me and him just really kind of, gelled with each other. He was really into me. And at the end of that, he mentioned to me, he said, "Hey, Ryan, you should look into this young chef competition. I think you'd be great at it." And I was not familiar at all with it. But I looked into it and found out about, it was called Mentor BKB, which is basically the foundation behind Team USA for the Boku store. Thomas Keller, Danielle Boulud, Jerome Bocuse, 3 of the best chefs in the world. They spearheaded this foundation to kind of build a roster of great American chefs that they can send to Lyon every 2 years to compete. And they do this young chef competition every year as kind of like just a small scale competition here in the States to recognize that young talent. So I looked into it, thought it was crazy. Didn't really think I had what it took, but if I have a chef like this telling me I should apply,
how could you not?
Right. So I'm going to apply. So I applied, and I ended up getting selected to compete. And that was in 2015 in Chicago. And it was a crazy experience. I trained for it. I had an assistant that I brought with me. I thought I was prepared. Looking back on it now, like I could have done so. It's one of those things, like in the moment you think like, this is it, I got it. But now looking back on it, like I could have done so much more. But it was one of those learning experiences,
Sure.
I learned a ton. I made great connections. And those connections ended up just kind of, now I got to know these people associated with this foundation that, now 2 years later in 2017, they have another part of their thing is the mentor grant program, which it's crazy for anyone that is in the food industry. Like, you apply to it, there's an application, you get some letters of recommendation, you write some letters, and if they select you, you can basically go anywhere in the world to stage or work at any restaurant in the world, and they'll take care of your salary, they'll take care of your lodging, your airfare, everything.
Wow.
So I applied for that, and I got selected, and I got to go to the French Laundry in Napa, California for 1 month. Everything paid for, taken care of, and here I am working at one of the best restaurants in the world, which was crazy. And at the time, that was everything I wanted. I wanted that 3 Michelin star lifestyle. It's very like militaristic, right? Like, it's just, everything is perfect, or at least you're trying for perfection. And
what do you mean when you say militaristic? What do you mean? Help me understand that.
Well, I mean, so the French Laundry, one story I tell a ton is when I was there, they were renovating. They were doing this crazy renovations to the restaurant. So at the time when I was there, they literally replicated the blueprints of the existing kitchen and made it out of shipping containers. That way everything could still go on, service could still happen and then they plopped them in the middle of this construction zone, basically. So things were a little bit tighter than normal when I was there. And I remember one day vividly, there was no walk-in coolers, but like just a stand-up reaching refrigerator, and I was putting produce away, and one of the sous chefs walked behind me, and I did what I thought I should do to get out of the way. I opened the door all the way and kind of scuttled inside of it a little bit to kind of give him room to walk by. He walked by, and then he came right back, and he said, "Don't ever do that again." And I said, "Chef, what?" Well, I was genuinely curious what I did. And he said, "Don't ever open a door past a 90-degree angle." And I said, "Why?" And he looked at me square in the eye and said, "Because it's the French Laundry." And so it was a lot of things like that, of really my first week being there, of learning the French Laundry way of doing things.
Okay. Is there a real reason for that besides the look of it? Or?
It's just perfection. When you're there, you fold a towel a certain way, you sweep a certain way, you cut an onion a certain way, you dice butter a certain way. Anything you know about cooking, you go in there and you wipe that all clean, and you learn the French Laundry way to do things. Way. Okay. Right. It's this whole discipline, this is how we do things. There's a reason why they've gotten to that point. And so it was tough, to be honest. Like the first week of being there, I remember calling my wife after day 4, and I was like, "Get me out of here. Book me a flight home. I can't do it." Like, I was exhausted, I was literally working 12 to 14 hour days and just literally running my ass off of trying to do the right things, but those things weren't right, because I felt like that first week they were almost testing me.
Okay.
Just to see like if I could hang, and it was tough. Like, man, it was really, really challenging.
The discipline part,
just everything. I think too, as like a young cook, you go in there with this expectation of what this place is, and then when I got there and it was more than what I expected, like it was just a different level. And so now I had to like almost convince myself that I was good enough to be there.
Okay.
And then almost prove to their team that like, hey, like I can be here. Like I'm good enough. I want to help you guys succeed, because that's what I was there to do. Like I wasn't there to steal anyone's job. I was there to learn and just to take it all in.
So more of a confidence thing?
Yeah. And after that first week, things they didn't get easy, but they got easier. Okay. Because now I learned these ways, these nuances of how they do things, and I was able to work a little bit faster. I was able to cut that onion a little bit faster and move on to the next thing or whatever. And I just felt like part of the team. The guys there, they started kind of take me in. Like it was like, all right, this guy's cool. He can get this shit done. If I ask him to do it, we're cool with him. We're gonna joke around with him after service a little bit maybe. So it was things like that I'm luckily I did stick it out for those 4 weeks, but it was tough, man. It was really tough.
At the end of that 4 weeks, did you have a complete reversal in how you felt after day 4?
Yeah. I honestly didn't want to leave. It was tough. And it was crazy. They offered me a job to stay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was crazy. Like that's it. Again, it's one of the best restaurants in the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
No doubt. Times it was number 1 in the world.
No doubt.
But I again, even there, as I spoke about earlier, making these connections and relationships, I've made really great relationships with people that I still talk to. And I remember on my second to last day there, so the executive chef is Thomas Keller, but their chef de cuisine, the man who runs the kitchen on the daily, is Dave Breeden. And I didn't have many interactions with him just because I'm down here and he's this tall figure up here. But he knew who I was, and we had spoken and done some things together. And on my second to last day, I was working on a project, and he came over to me and said, "Hey, today's your last day?" And I'm like, "No, chef, tomorrow." And he goes, "No, today's your last day." And like, I'm kind of like shitting my pants. I'm like, fuck, am I getting tossed out a day before I'm done? But I was like, "What do you mean, chef?" He's like, "Do you have a suit?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "You're coming in for dinner tomorrow." And so like that was kind of wow. like oh shit, like maybe I did like leave an impression, like maybe I did do the things that I was trying to do, like maybe I wasn't as bad as I thought. And so then the next day I was able to come in, like compliments of them, and have this crazy dinner, and they took care of me like crazy. And I remember I probably was a little tipsy too after the dinner because all these wine pairings and everything, but I remember walking out of the restaurant, and this was probably like at 1 or 2 a.m. because it's this long dinner. And I remember walking down the main road in Yountville, and I remember just laughing out loud because I was just like, I can't believe, like 3 weeks ago I was trying to get out of here, and now like look at what happened. So
right, it
was a crazy turn of events, but I was super grateful for that whole opportunity.
So you didn't stay, obviously.
No, I didn't stay. I ended up going back to Ocean Reef, but we stayed there for a little bit longer. But again, I kind of realized that about 3 years into being there that it wasn't what I wanted to do long term.
Okay.
Like the club and resort lifestyle, it's for a lot of people. A lot of people really love it. It's, it is great benefits and everything. But like anything, there's pros and cons when you're in a resort.
What could the cons possibly be?
Yeah.
I'm just asking because I'm sure other people will ask the same question.
Yeah. I mean, there is cons. Like, for down there, it's a private resort, so like it's very, very exclusive. Like it's member based, so you can't just go there as a public person. And so when you're in a member based resort community like that, the members dictate what you do. So like you want to cook all this crazy fancy stuff, and they want ribeye and mashed potatoes. You're cooking ribeye and mashed potatoes. Like that's just how it is.
Okay.
And not saying that it was always so like cut and dry like that down there. Like we did have a lot of creativity, but I knew that I wanted more, and I wanted to do different things. And I knew that I wouldn't be able to do all that there. So
just from a creativity standpoint, right?
Right. I just knew that, if I stayed there long term, I would get stuck in that genre of the industry. And not that it's a bad thing, but it's just not what I wanted to do. Like resorts and clubs, like it's not for everybody. And it was good for me for a while, but it wasn't long term.
You couldn't stretch out, kind of?
Yeah, exactly. So I started to, my wife and I, we looked at like where we wanted to go next. We took a vacation to Chicago, and we loved Chicago. We fell in love with the city. So we thought we were going to move there. And then I ended up getting a text from a friend that told me about this food hall in Pittsburgh that was open, that they were looking for a new round of chefs. I had never heard of it. But I looked into it, and I was super intrigued. Mm-hmm. The concept was that, every 12 months they bring in 4 new chefs with 4 new restaurant concepts. You open up a business and test out your concept. So I looked into it, and I said, what the hell, let's apply. And ended up getting a call to fly up to do like a tryout tasting. They had like, I think 10 of us basically like cook off your concept in front of these judges. They taste it, and then they decide, and did that, and then ended up getting selected to open up my concept in the food hall. So, even though I was accepted, I wasn't sure if we were going to do it, but we decided to do it, and moved up to Pittsburgh to open up this restaurant, which was crazy. Like I was 23, 24 years old, and I'm about to open up a restaurant. Like it was nuts. And my whole concept was, I was still very much about fine dining. So in my head, fine dining meets fast casual would be like a great concept of like, even if we're doing a burger, really great products, really well done techniques, just like it can still be simple food, but just done at a very, very high level.
Okay.
So that's kind of the concept that I was looking for. And yeah, I was able to, build a team and learn all these like ownership things that when I was at Ocean Reef as the sous chef running this crazy, crazy operation, I could just sit on a computer and click away of ordering these things. Now, like I remember like one week we go through like 2 cases of paper towels, and I'm like, guys, what the fuck? This is my money. Why we went through 1 case last week? Why is it 2? So I really, really learned, not the value of a dollar, but just like when it's my money on the line now, like we got to cut, like, and it just kind of opened up my eyes to really how to run a tight operation.
It's ownership.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was a wild ride. It was a crazy year for sure.
I bet.
Yeah,
I bet. At that point, did you think that's something you wanted to do long term?
In my head at first, yeah, when I started. And then I realized that the concept didn't, we didn't fail by any means, but it wasn't like a booming success either. It wasn't the right concept for that food hall. Like it just didn't make sense. People they wanted more low maintenance style food, that kind of stuff. So
got it. You think it was the right concept for Pittsburgh? It just was the wrong location? Hard to say.
It is hard to say. It is. I don't know. I don't know if it would work. It's tough, but yeah. So I mean, I was fine with that too. Like I knew it was like a 12-month thing. Like if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That's the point of this,
right.
Just to test it out.
Right.
And so about like 6 months in, when I realized like, all right, we're not going to move on with this after the 12 months. Again, I started like, all right, I got to find a new job, get ready. Like after this 12 months, I got to do something. So I took some time, and I traveled all over the country. I went to like Georgia, Chicago, Vegas, just like trying out at all these different restaurants, like resorts in Vegas and Georgia and Atlanta and Miami, and just like flying out and doing tastings for all these restaurants and stuff.
Okay.
And honestly, getting a ton of offers. Like it was crazy. Like all these places offering me really great jobs. And so my wife and I, we had to like really sit down and be like, all right, what do we want to do? Where do we want to go? And we honestly, we just kept coming back that like with how much we love Pittsburgh. At this point, we were in Pittsburgh and we were falling in love with it. We were making friends. We were kind of settling down a little bit. And we kind of wanted to see what could happen if we stay here a little bit longer. So I declined all that stuff. And
what year would this have been, Ryan?
This was This was probably 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, 2018. I might be wrong on that, but we're close enough. So when I make that decision, I start looking locally here in Pittsburgh at what jobs are available. And I come across this ad for a restaurant called Fish Nor Fowl, which coincidentally is where Salt of the Earth used to be, same building. So I find out about it. It seems super interesting. And it's owned by the Richard DeChance Restaurant Group. And met up with those guys, and they offered me a job as the sous chef on their opening team, because the restaurant wasn't open yet. It was getting ready to open. It was like perfect timing. So when I finished up at the food hall, took about a month off, and then joined up with those guys and opened up that restaurant. And it was an interesting concept. The whole idea was of the restaurant was to like a lot of like smaller plates, and there was really no genre, if you will, of the food. It was kind of, whatever we wanted to cook. If there was going to be a Korean barbecue dish maybe one day, and then there was going to be a very classical Italian dish, like all kinds of crazy things, which was fun as as a chef to be able to cook whatever and not be kind of, blinders on of like, this is the food that we're cooking. It was fun. We could change the menu whenever. And it was a lot of fun. So I enjoyed that. But yeah, it again, wasn't long-term either. So
when you were doing it, it was obviously that's a different thing. Small plates, primarily small plates is different, right? Did you know that this was not for you? Did you?
No, I mean, I enjoyed it. The restaurant was great. It was a great team. I was just at this point now, I was starting to focus on, like, I was starting to see that there could be something of me building something on my own.
Okay.
And I guess backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know when it would have been. I don't know, maybe like 6 months before then. Maybe when I was still at the food hall. I ended up making a batch of pasta one night, and it turned out really fucking good.
Okay.
Just like a really good batch of homemade pasta with homemade sauce.
Nothing wrong with that.
It just turned out great. So I made it that night. Loved it. My wife loved it. So the next night, I did it again. And then I did that for 64 days straight. I would go to work. Actually, so you know what? This would have been right.
64 days straight.
Yeah, this would have been when This would have been right when I started Fish Nor Fowl, because this is when I was there when it happened.
Okay.
So yeah, I would work about 10 to 12 hours in the restaurant, come home from work, make a pound of pasta, wake up in the morning, roll that pasta, shape that pasta, go to work, come home. This vicious cycle, taking notes, learning things, testing different things, tweaking things. And yeah, I ended up going 64 days straight. And I got really obsessive over it. And I just,
you don't say.
Yeah, I went crazy, to be honest. It was nuts. But I just fell in love with it. And
the process, the tinkering with
everything.
Like, everything.
We'll get into it, but like in theory, pasta is this very, very, very simple food. Like at its core, it can be two simple ingredients, flour and eggs or flour and water.
Right.
But to have something so simple that can at the same time be so technical and so just like affected by slight differences in temperature or hydration or whatever, like it was fascinating to me. And so I just fell in love with it, of playing around with different, flours and all these things, that I was just like, this is it. And I think at the time I didn't realize it. Now I look back and like, I can definitely realize it. But I think as young cooks, a lot of cooks are always looking for that thing that, all right, this is my lane in the industry. Because there's so many different things that, we as cooks and chefs can cook or whatever. And not saying that you need to have a certain thing that you're very good at or passionate about, but for me, that's what I was looking for. I was always looking for that thing, and this was it. That was me finding that.
Fair enough.
And yeah, so I just went crazy about it. And at the time, I was still working at Fish, and we had actually like one or two pasta dishes on the menu, like fresh pasta, that I would obviously take care of. And then it's funny, about like 6 months into the restaurant, being up and running and everything, I don't know if it's, them noticing what I was doing or whatever, but they ended up making a switch and going to a full pasta menu.
Okay.
And, it's kind of shitty, but right around this time is when I decided to leave. Not because of that by any means. Like, I had already had something that had happened.
It's the way things work.
Yeah. But, about a year into it, of being there, I get a text from my buddy Pete, who's the owner of Ironborn Pizza, who I met at Smallman Galley. He had a restaurant there when I did.
Right.
And we've been good friends ever since then. And he knew what I was doing with pasta. Obviously, everybody was kind of seeing what I was doing through socials and stuff. And he was getting ready to open up his first full service restaurant, so like seatings, bar, everything, all that good stuff. And obviously, he does the Detroit style pizza very well.
Right.
He wanted to add a pasta program, so we met up, had a coffee, and chatted. And it just made sense for us to kind of link up and for me to join the team and build that program out. So that's what I did. I ended up leaving Fish and was able to go there and kind of almost build a pasta program for a restaurant from the ground up.
From scratch.
Yeah, and it was cool. We kind of did like, Ironborn, they do pizza, so it's pretty casual stuff. So we couldn't do anything high level. And so our concept of what was going to be on the menu was basically pick a shape. We had like 4 or 5 different shapes to pick from. Pick a sauce. You could add meatballs. You could add roasted chicken. Just kind of, they're in the Strip District, so it has to be like Yinzer friendly, you know, like nothing crazy.
Sure.
If they want spaghetti and meatballs, that's what they're going to get, And it worked great. Like, people loved it. And it allowed me to kind of still flex what I was very passionate about and what I was really trying to play with, and do it on a work level as well as still doing it on the home front.
Sure. So you leaked in there, which you were already doing on social.
Right.
So when you did the 64 days of pasta making,
I wish I would have been documenting it on social. Like, I have it all in journals and notebooks, but I wish I would have turned that into a series.
So what do we want to go and touch on that right away? Because I don't want to gloss over that, because that started to be incorporated in your life, right?
Yeah.
What drove you to document and film and release this process?
It's just, ever since, honestly, I was in culinary school, I've always been really good about documenting everything. I've always thought that's very important. And I've carried that with me through every job I've ever been at. And it didn't, just because I was at home cooking, it didn't make it any different. So I thought it was very important. And too, like, since I was really, like, obviously I had made pasta before, I've been cooking for years, but since I was really like trying to understand the fundamentals of it, it was important to me to document it and take pictures of, like, okay, this is what it looks like after it's rested for 2 hours. This is what it looks like after it's rested for 24 hours, and like be able to see side by side comparisons and everything. So it just really, like, I built up this huge database really of all this content and notes and research and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just decided you're going to start, because doing that for yourself, right? Yeah. And then obviously creating a channel and letting it go in a structured fashion.
Yeah.
That takes some thought.
Yeah. I had already kind of been on Instagram and socials and stuff, just doing whatever, posting.
Like with Facebook? Where'd you start?
On Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, just doing food and stuff.
Okay.
Nothing great. Like, I look back at some of my like old stuff and it was so shitty, like just really terrible quality or whatever. Like, but again, it didn't matter to me because I just wanted to put out there.
Well, food porn's a thing, right?
Right.
Photos of food are just so enticing, right?
But I wasn't even looking at it on like the quality level. I was just like, I was proud of stuff I was doing and I wanted to document it and put it out there. And like, I honestly use my Instagram as like, just like looking back on my memories and like seeing
like
where I've grown.
Like your own personal journal.
Exactly. Just like a digital journal.
Got it.
So when I started shifting to pasta, it made sense to just to post that kind of stuff there. And when I started posting pasta things, I saw this feedback that I had never seen before on social for me.
Okay.
Like, it was crazy. I post, if one of the first like early photos I remember is just of a well of flour with some eggs in it. And it exploded, and all these crazy pages are reposting it, and I'm getting all these messages, and I was just like, I was astounded because it's something I had just been looking at for like 2 months straight, right? Every night, like, I'm looking at this every day, like, this isn't anything special to me, but it made me realize, like, okay, maybe people do want to see this, and maybe I need to look into this a little bit more. So then I got really into just kind of like really sharing like different shapes and photos of different things and videos of the processes. And I started to see that kind of like that traction keep growing. And people wanted to see more, and they wanted to engage with that and be a part of this journey. And it's just kind of taken off.
Initially on Instagram,
yeah,
right?
Yep.
Initially on Instagram.
Exactly.
Okay, so you were still working with Ironborn at the time?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, so you were busy.
Yeah, I was real busy, and then I had a kid, and then I got busier.
Were really busy.
Yeah, then I got busier, and
I bet.
Yeah, so it's been nuts.
So going back to Ironborn, when did you part with them?
I left there this year in about probably like March or April, I guess it was.
Okay,
so relatively recently.
How not that we're trying to move past the pandemic, but just touch on what that was like, the up and downs of being in the restaurant business during 2020.
It was rough. Obviously, like anybody, we'd never seen anything like it, so it was really, really hard. Right when it hit, I mean, Ironborn, thankfully, they never had to close. We stayed open through it all. And
because of the takeout, right?
That, and just like we didn't take a week off. We decided to, some places that everyone didn't know what was going to happen. Some people just shut down for a week or two. We decided to work it out. And yeah, like you said, pizza is the ultimate takeout food. It's easy to transfer that. We did right when it happened, when everything shut down. We took pasta off the menu. Pasta doesn't do well takeout. And two, we lost so much of our staff, like 90% of our staff gone.
Sure, I bet.
So it was like 4 or 5 of us on the management team that for like the first 6 months of it, just running around like crazy, like handling the phone, dishwashing, doing all that. It's just like working harder than we were before. And it was rough, but we got through it. And as things progressively opened up, we were able to get some staff back and everything, but it was never like how it was before. It was still very, very difficult.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, did pasta eventually come back?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's full back now. We like a couple months into it, I did like some like take and bake options where you could take it home, pop it in your oven. It's good.
Okay.
Something more that's just easier for that. It's just like if I cook a bowl of pasta, put it into a takeout container, and then it goes for a half hour, it turns to shit, really.
Right.
So it's not really set up for that. But eventually we brought things back, and like I said, now they're back to full steam.
And when did you make the determination that you wanted to concentrate on your own business full time?
Yeah, when my son was born.
Okay.
Yeah, when we found out that my wife was pregnant, I decided that all right, when he's born, I want to take a month off if I'm able. So we saved up some money, did everything right. I talked to the guys at Ironborn. I wasn't sure if they were going to be on board for that. Maybe taking a month off, it's kind of unheard of, especially in restaurants.
Right,
and they were cool with it. So I took a month off when he was born. And obviously I'm still doing stuff around the house, to caring for him, all this stuff. But I did have some free time too. And I was still putting out content and doing stuff. And that's when I realized that I can make money still doing what I love and be at home with my son. Like, I got to figure out how to do this full time, because I can't do both of these.
Right.
So that was in November of 2020, and that's when I kind of made the conscious decision, like, all right, I gotta get out of the restaurant. And I started to put things into place to allow me to do that and make that jump.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this. The only way you can really possibly explain it is a social media explosion for you. Because it's so rapid.
Yeah,
right?
It is.
You started documenting your life primarily as a chef and your fascination with food.
Right.
Primarily for yourself.
Right.
And then other people started taking notice. I'm guessing it was Instagram first.
Yeah.
But we have to talk about TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok.
I know jack shit about TikTok. I'm just putting it right out there right now.
A lot of people don't. Yeah.
I know of it.
Yeah.
That's all I know. Talk about the platform. What is the platform?
It's a video content platform. It's really great for short form, like 15 seconds, crushes it on there. And, I had first heard about it about 2 years ago. it was July 4th of 2 years ago. My younger brother, who's like a college kid, him and his girlfriend were out here visiting my wife and I. And this is when TikTok was really starting to blow up. And this is all they were talking about because it's like perfect for them, right? They're on their phones 24/7. And they wouldn't shut up about it. So I eventually had him show it to me. And I'm like, this is stupid. It's just like stupid videos, you know.
I thought it was for kids initially. That's
the impression I had too. You know,
okay.
A lot of just like random shit, you know, stupid dances or stupid pranks, whatever.
Right.
But I ended up downloading it that night. Didn't really think much of it and didn't really post anything for really like 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then in September of that year, so 2019, I posted my first video and it got like 500,000 views in 24 hours. And I was like, wow.
And what video was that?
It was just a video of me rolling a piece of cavatelli on like a cavatelli board. That's it. It was like a 5-second video.
It got how many views?
Like 500,000 in 24 hours.
Now, how does that happen? Is it through sharing?
No. So the way that, again, like I push a lot of like people onto TikTok because TikTok is different with how it's like more of like a back end thing with their algorithms and everything, but it's the organic reach that you can have on TikTok. You can post like, so if you go on Instagram, when you're scrolling through, you're seeing people that you follow.
Mm-hmm.
On TikTok, it's the opposite. You're seeing random people. So it gives everybody, essentially when anybody posts a video on TikTok, you have 30 million followers or you have 0. Your video goes out to about 100 people. And depending on how they react to that video, it then spider webs it out and pushes it out to 500 people and then 1,000 people. So everybody, if you have anything that can resonate with somebody and you put it out there, you have that chance for that like organic reach, which is different from any other platform. And I noticed that on my first video. I got really lucky. But I also like, I don't think I recognized it at the time, like how crazy it was. I just thought it was kind of like a fluke, like, whatever, I got lucky.
Okay.
So I posted a couple other things in the first couple weeks. And then in December of 2019, I saw like a string of like 3 or 4 videos in a row that got millions of views. And I was like, holy shit, like this is nuts. Like maybe I need to focus, like maybe I need to shift from Instagram for a minute and really focus in here on what's happening. And I did. And from December of 2019 to December of 2020, I went like really hard for a year on just like creating content, not only posting old content, but creating content specifically for the platform. Because I was like seeing like really, really crazy engagement and really great growth. And it was, what's crazy too. So that was December of 2019 and I was doing great. Like I was building this great brand, whatever on the platform. Cause I had no expectations going into it. Like I didn't create the account and was like, I'm going to be the next, social media star. Like I didn't know what was going to happen. But in October of 2020, I had like 300,000 followers, which was insane. I was ecstatic, right?
That's insane, period.
Yeah, I was ecstatic about it. And I was happy with how the page was doing. Like, this is great. I'm having fun. Like, I was just genuinely having fun at it, you know, posting up stuff, meeting like really cool people. And I ended up in the beginning of October, so we're at like 300K. And
that's
do you remember?
Mind-numbing.
Yeah,
300,000 people.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's insane. Do you remember last year? I don't know if you saw on the internet the video of that guy riding a skateboard drinking cranberry juice.
Yeah,
so
it was on
Rogan. Fleetwood Mac.
Rogan was playing it, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's when October of 2020 was when that was kind of blowing up, and I decided to post a video on this random day. And I used that Dream song because it was like the trending thing on TikTok at the time. And it was just a video like many of my other videos of me just kind of mixing up some eggs and some flour. And I'll never forget, I was sitting on my couch in my living room. It was 9 o'clock at night. I posted that video. Then I get on Xbox. I'm playing, Xbox with some buddies online. And I go to bed at 11. And I look at my phone and it's at 2 million views in 2 hours, which was unheard of for my account, right? Like, that's insane.
2 million.
Yeah. So I genuinely freaked out for a minute. I was like, this is nuts. But I was like, whatever. Put my phone away, went to bed, woke up with 12 million views. And I think right now it's at like 39 million. So like crazy. Like that's
beyond crazy.
Yeah, it was unheard of. So I made the conscious decision then. I was like, all right, this is it. Like there's a viral video and then there's like the mega viral video. And I now have a mega viral video. So like there's a lot of people looking at my page right now. So I went really, really crazy all of October to just like push out content and like really, really build up the page. And by the end of October, I went from 300,000 to 1 million followers within that span of that month, 3 weeks really. And that just really like elevated my account to this new level. And just like opened up all these opportunities, like, cause now like all these brands and people just want to like collaborate and do all this stuff. And it's like really, really crazy how like, obviously I built up to that, but like one video, like just changed the account.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
So
that's an insane amount of people.
It's
now,
crazy.
When you say followers, so does it also have a business page there? How does TikTok operate?
No,
profile page?
Yeah, no, it's just my profile. So it's kind of like an Instagram account.
Okay.
Yeah, just you have your followers. You don't have like friends or anything. It's just followers.
Right.
And that's it. So
okay, so you're seeing this. This is what, December of last year.
Yeah.
It just happened obviously in October, November, and then now it's December of last year.
Right.
An insane amount of followers you have.
Yeah.
How in your brain are you going to take this and help proliferate your ideas for entrepreneur? Like what were you thinking? What's the next logical step?
I didn't know what I was thinking. I didn't know what to do. It was just because, like, to be honest, like, to get thrown that exposure and all that kind of stuff so quickly, it's almost like, it's not, I don't want to say it's bad, but it's like, it's so fast that you can't even process everything, you know?
It's unnerving.
Yeah, I mean, it took me a year to get to 300,000 followers, and then within 2.5, 3 weeks, I'm at 1 million. So like, you know, I spent all this time to get there, and then for it to like go crazy like that in a short amount of time, I couldn't even process it. So
okay, so did you try to process what was so unique about that particular video that propelled you? Like,
I mean, I did a lot more egg videos after that.
No doubt.
It's crazy.
No
I mean,
doubt.
Obviously people wanted to see that, and I recognized that, so I doubled down on that, and just gave them what they wanted. Also, still though, like being able to still sprinkle in the stuff that I wanted to do,
sure,
because you know it gets kind of boring. I mean, again, I'm doing it all the time though, so I might as well document it. But if people want to see it, they're going to see it, so I might as well. You know?
Okay, so the process of making pasta,
right,
obviously is resonating with people.
Yeah, I guess.
Probably on a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, there's this unique thing about the way we interpret video where certain videos of mechanical things are somewhat like satisfying.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do they call that?
I don't know, but that's, I mean, the majority of my content gets put into more of the satisfying content than the food content. Like,
yeah,
people like will spend hours watching my videos. It's
like machines that would crush items was a thing years ago. Remember, like crushing?
Absolutely,
that was a thing. Or just like geometrical, like a view of something.
You're trying to figure out how it works.
Yeah,
your eyes can't stop.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It is crazy. So you have that, and you have viewership based upon the interest in food, but also viewership based upon the satisfying,
right?
Because it resolves or something. I would love to know what the psychology of that is.
Right. Well, and I think too, like, at least for the eggs and stuff like that, like, I don't know. I thought that most people knew that's how pasta was made. I found that most people do not realize that. Like, the majority of people, at least on the internet, don't realize that at all. And it's mind-blowing, but it's cool because that just kind of opens up this education opportunity of like being able to like teach these, at this point, millions of people what I love to do, which is, it's super cool.
All right, let's talk about pasta.
Let's do it.
So you make pasta for 64 straight days.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't recommend
it. You're a pretty trim guy. You're obviously not eating as much as you're making. That's for darn sure. What was the catalyst to do that? Do you remember? Can you remember back, like, why all of a sudden, boom, I'm going to do this?
honestly, it was just the one night of a really good batch of pasta.
It just tasted so amazing.
It was just so great. The texture was great. It was fantastic that I didn't think it was going to go as long as it did, but
okay.
Yeah, I fell deep into it and just like, researching it and reading books about it and watching videos about it and listening to people speak about it, and it's crazy. It was a rabbit hole.
All right, so you mentioned prior that the basic elements of pasta are either eggs, water, flour, or flour, water.
Right. Just eggs. Flour and eggs, or just flour and water. At its core, that's all it can be.
Okay.
Or all it could be.
So egg-free, there's egg-free pasta.
Right.
Okay, so let's do pasta 101 here.
Right.
I had to tell him and confess that I came from a half Italian family. I should kind of know this stuff, but I don't. So, pasta 101.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So, at its core, typically in Italy, a flour and water dough would be reserved for certain shapes, and flour and egg would be reserved for other shapes. So like in certain regions of Italy, the poorer regions, they can't afford the eggs, so they're making pasta with flour and water. And the richer regions, they can afford the eggs, so they're using the flour and eggs.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and like historically, there's certain shapes that should only be made with flour and water, certain shapes that should only be made with flour and eggs. Orecchietti should be just flour and water.
What is that?
Like the little ears.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
That should just be flour and water.
Okay.
Tagliatelle, which is like a fettuccine, right? Long noodle. That should be 100% eggs.
So it'll stay consistent? Is it the consistency or stay in shape?
Flavor, color, richness, all texture, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of things.
Okay.
So there's tons of different shapes that are meant for certain things. But yeah, there's just like, yeah. It's so basic at its core, but when you really look into it, there's so much more to it.
There's salt in there too, right?
I don't add salt.
Oh.
Yeah. Some people add salt, some people add oil, some people add milk. I don't add any of that.
Interesting.
But then I also add some really weird shit. Sometimes I get a little crazy.
Like what? Nothing's proprietary.
No. I mean, people see I do a lot of colored pastas.
Yes. I just thought that was food dye.
Yeah, no, I've never used food coloring. I refuse to. I only will. That's why, like, I haven't done some colors yet, because I haven't found the product yet that'll give me that color.
So that's not food dye.
No.
I thought it was.
Yeah. So for black, I do activated charcoal.
Oh no shit.
Yeah, totally flavorless. Really good jet black color. You could use squid ink. I don't like squid ink.
What is that?
From squid, like their ink sac, right? Yeah.
Squid ink.
Right. It's going to give you a really jet black color.
Okay.
I just don't. It's more.
Okay.
People will use it with like a seafood pasta with like clams or whatever, mussels.
Did not know that.
But
is it tasteless and odorless and all that stuff?
No, it's very briny, like the ocean, and I'm not a fan of that. So activated charcoal, totally flavorless, really great color.
Got it.
Then I do like blue and green with spirulina, which is a type of algae.
Familiar.
Yeah, again, it's a great superfood too. And in pasta, it's flavorless. So there's so many different things you can do. And I've had fun playing with it, just like learning, what I can add to
All right,
things.
smart ass. So if you want to make something red, what would you use?
That's the toughest one I'm working on right now.
The natural thing would be beets, you think, right?
Yeah, see, I'm looking for like a really good like red light red.
Okay.
And it's tough to find.
Okay.
I've been struggling with that one right now. I've been struggling with red, and I've been struggling with pink.
What about blue?
Blue is blue spirulina.
Okay.
Yeah.
About purple?
Purple, I do ube, which is a purple sweet potato.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
No carbs in that one. That's a little carb rich, I would imagine. Okay, about orange.
Orange. I've only ever done orange when I do. So on TikTok, actually, I did a whole series of letting my like followers make suggestions on what they want me to add to pasta.
Sure.
And this was more of like just fun content. This wasn't for like. I did some crazy stuff. I added mustard to a batch of pasta. I added ketchup. I added Fruity Pebbles. I added peanut butter.
Fruity Pebbles?
Fruity Pebbles was actually the best one out of all of them.
Are you serious?
Fantastic. Really good. I like ground it up into like almost like a flour.
Okay.
And worked it in, and
that tasted okay with sauce on it.
Yeah, you'd be surprised.
Really?
You'd be surprised.
Okay. That's nuts.
It's good. Yeah, I had some fun doing it. Like the peanut butter one was weird because like halfway through mixing it, I was like, flour, eggs, peanut butter. I think I'm making cookie dough at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it didn't really work out that well. But some of them work out great. The ketchup one is probably, I'm not a huge fan of ketchup.
Right.
So wasn't that good.
Fruity Pebbles and pasta.
I'll bring you a batch sometime.
All right. That's I mean, I'm game for that.
Yeah.
I saw it was a TikTok video that I think might have been linked from YouTube. Did they do that?
Yeah.
Does YouTube kind of link TikTok videos as
sometimes,
well?
yeah.
Or maybe it was one of those YouTube shorts.
It could have been, yeah.
But they had a recipe where there was a brisket, and they bored like holes in the center of the brisket and poured Nerds in there. That candy
sounds terrible.
I know, and they did it. I thought it was a joke. At the end, people were swearing by it. It was supposed to be amazing, right?
I don't know about that.
Gotta be kidding me.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a little much.
So sugar, but I mean, unconventional things like that are possible.
Yeah, of course.
Huh.
Yeah. But no, all like the colored stuff, like just trying to keep it natural stuff. Like
Who came up with the Fruity Pebbles idea?
I don't remember. There was somebody who requested it. And like
really?
I always, whenever I was doing that series, it was like, top comment wins, whatever comment gets the most likes. And like, of course, the Fruity Pebble got like 40,000 likes. I'm like, fuck, I gotta put Fruity Pebbles in cereal.
So you obviously thought it wasn't going to turn out.
Yeah, no, but it was better than I expected. It's not something I would serve or anything. Like, it's not like best pasta I ever had, but
okay,
it was better than I expected.
Okay, so you start doing this, and the channel continues to grow.
Yeah.
I've seen some of your videos too that just show the process of actually making the pasta. So go back to Pasta 101 for me now. You mix these ingredients together. You have your dough. Right. What's the next step?
Well, essentially, like, let's go with flour and eggs. So you mix the eggs together, and then you slowly incorporate that flour. Because what the goal of when you're making pasta, the flour and the eggs, is you're trying to hydrate that flour. And in this case, you're hydrating that flour with eggs as the moisture. And obviously it takes a while. So the biggest thing, like, whenever people ask me for like tips or advice on making pasta, the biggest thing is just like kneading for a long time. Like, it should feel like you should feel it in your forearms. Like, you need to knead this dough for like 15 to 20 minutes. Like, you need to really work it. Yeah. Or there's other ways, like there's other like hacks, if you will, or like tricks to do it a lot faster. But like the traditional, like old school way, it's just like, it's muscle. It's like, you got to work this thing. And then after that, you have to let it rest. It's just like if like you're going to work out, after you work out, you rest for a minute. Of course. Like, you got to chill, like give your muscles a break. And it's the same thing with the pasta. Like, you just work the crap out of this gluten in the pasta. You need to let it chill for a minute, or like at least like 30 to 40 minutes before you want to roll it out.
At room temperature generally, or do you put it in the refrigerator?
You can do both.
Okay.
Yeah, usually room temperature, but you can put it in the refrigerator. I mean, you can let it rest for longer too, but at least like 30 to 45 minutes. Just to give you the best, like, it's going to like relax everything, let it roll out a lot easier. Because if not, if you try to roll it out right after you knead it, it's just going to be this like really springy thing that's just super tight. It's just going to want to bounce back together, and it's never going to work out. Okay.
All right. So you have the dough. It's ready to then, and obviously there's all different kinds of types of pasta. Some can be cut by hand, but oftentimes the most fascinating to me is the ones that are put into machines.
Right. So that's actually like a totally different thing. So like the stuff that comes out of the machine that you see, like where I'm cutting and everything, right?
Yeah.
That's a totally different type of dough. So that's going to be semolina water. So like that flour and egg dough is usually 00 flour. It's a very, very fine.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
With the machine pasta, the extruded pasta, it's going to be semolina flour and water. You can use eggs. Majority times you use water.
Okay.
And for that, it's a very, very different dough. Like, if you see like a finished dough of flour and eggs after you're kneading, and you see what is quote unquote a finished dough before you put it out of the machine, it is like, it's night and day. Like, you would never, it doesn't look like a dough in the machine when it,
like a paste.
No, it's almost like kind of the consistency of wet sand. Like, you should be able to like mash it together in your hand, but then you should be able to like crumble it apart.
Got it.
And the reason for that is because the way the machine works, it's a very, very powerful machine.
Right.
And the augers in this thing will just really, it'll force hydrate and everything. And push everything together as it works through the dyes and everything.
Got it.
Yeah.
They called it an extruder.
Exactly. Yeah.
So when I was a kid, I worked in a pizza shop, and we made the dough for our round pizza, our thin crust, by hand.
Yeah.
And I can't remember, but it was flour, eggs, water. I'm probably missing something in there too. I think we put a little sugar in there.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Some yeast, maybe.
Yeah, some yeast.
Yeah.
That's what it was. And then we would set it in there on a tray in mounds, and then it would have to sit for a while.
Right.
And then it would swell, and then we would take it out and then stretch from there, and then bake it. Is the yeast the differential between the pasta dough and the pizza dough?
Yeah, the yeast is the big one there. It's just a different type of, it's more of like a fermented dough versus the pasta. It's just, no yeast or anything, so you're not really looking for that reaction.
Creates the yeast creates a different reaction with the dough and creates that that flakiness when it's cooked. Okay,
right.
More bread consistency.
Exactly.
What does al dente mean?
What it means is to the tooth, and that's like a great topic too, actually, because with fresh pasta, you really can never get al dente, and a lot of people don't realize that. Like, if you go to a restaurant and you order fresh pasta, if they're like making the pasta there and everything, you can't really get al dente pasta. Like, when people think of al dente, that's with dried pasta, because the way that it's dried, you're able to get that nice bite. But with fresh pasta, it's not dried, it's cooked fresh, so it's just going to be a much softer product.
Okay.
It's not going to have that same bite. It'll still have some texture to it, but it won't have that same bite as what most people associate with al dente pasta.
So companies are just using that word for marketing now, would you guess?
I mean, it's still a thing. It's just, I think the general public don't realize that it's not a thing with fresh pasta.
Okay. I don't understand how if the ingredients are so similar and so elemental, there's different flavors, because there is. I've tasted all kinds of pasta, kind of raw in raw state, cooked but not dressed.
Right.
And I don't understand how it's possible to have different flavors.
There's all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's different flours you can use. There's different eggs. I mean, eggs taste different.
Okay.
Some places use shitty eggs. Some places use really nice eggs. Some people they use all-purpose flour. Some people are using really, really nice, like from a local, like, fresh milled flour. That's like freshly milled flour is like a huge difference versus stuff that's been sitting on the shelves for months.
Okay.
So like that's like on a micro level of like all these different nuances that can really make the end product different to the consumer.
For a while there, you were seeing wheat pasta, so I'm guessing that was pasta made from wheat flour. What would the advantage of that be? Because all flour has wheat in it anyways, right? Because of the gluten.
Right. Yeah, I never really looked into it much, to be honest.
Is there gluten-free pasta?
There is. I haven't messed around with it much. I've tasted a bunch of like products that are out there that are gluten-free pasta, and they all usually suck. Like they're just
there's no consistency.
Yeah,
the gluten keeps it together,
exactly, and they just turn to shit. But I know some people out there that are working on it, like with trying to make a really good gluten-free product. It's like you said, there's no gluten there, so it's tough to have that structure.
Yeah, there's no real substitute for gluten,
right,
in terms of the consistency of the product itself.
Right.
I guess when people think of spaghetti, when you use the term spaghetti, does that cover all pasta, or is spaghetti just the long skinny strands?
It should just be the long skinny strands. Like I do know a lot of people that like whatever kind of pasta they're having spaghetti for dinner, right? Or like spaghetti sauce or something, but it should just be the long noodles.
So it's just used. It's like Kleenex, if you have a tissue.
It's just this general term.
Okay. Now, what's your favorite noodle to make?
Bowtie Farfalle.
Yeah,
this one right here.
Yeah.
It was one of the first shapes that I learned how to make. It's just like, I don't know. I fell in love with it. And
are you cutting that? That's not extruder.
Yeah, no. So that's cut and shaped by hand. And there's something about it that, like, have you ever had like Bowtie like boxed out of the store, like dried?
Yes.
It's usually never
sitting in my cupboard at home.
It's usually never that good though, because of the way that that's made out of these like industrial machines. It can never be cooked properly, because it's like right? There's different pinch points and everything, but when it's handmade and when it's made properly, the way that you pinch to shape the dough,
Right.
you should be able to leave a little channel underneath here so that the water can flow through.
Okay.
Cook it properly.
Okay.
So that you do have a properly cooked piece of pasta versus the store-bought stuff, which you can never cook properly. There's always going to be different levels of doneness. So I kind of fell in love with that shape, and it's just it's a fun shape. People love it, and yeah, I don't know, it's fun.
So naturally, the question would be, are you also a connoisseur of sauces?
Yeah, I love pasta sauces. I mean, my favorite is just like a classic, like really, really well-made bolagnese, like a classic meat sauce.
Oh, meat sauce. Okay.
Yeah, it's like
I never heard it pronounced correctly by anybody.
That's like my go-to. I could eat that, like, if there's one meal I could eat for the rest of my life, it's tagliatelle bolognese. Like, that's just like the ultimate comfort food. Like, nothing beats it. You know, it's a sauce that's been simmering away for 3-4 hours. It's just, you can't beat it.
Usually sausage based?
No, so mine is I do ground beef and ground pork.
Okay.
Lots of different veggies and stuff. Wine, tomatoes.
Oh, wow.
Just let it cook. Just let it go, and it's
To thicken up.
yeah, it's so good.
Years ago, and I've never been able to ask this question because I haven't run into these folks in a while, but when
Yeah.
I was a kid, I had a friend whose mother made Italian family.
Sure.
And mother made pasta and pasta sauce. She made her own pasta and she made her own sauce.
Right.
It was the best spaghetti sauce I ever had, but it was unique because there was like chunks of, it almost seemed like chunks of like roast beef. Like it would,
Yeah.
it wasn't ground beef. It was like,
Right.
and it was in there, and she would do the same thing with simmer.
Right.
But that was a different, maybe it was just the texture of the beef. I
Yeah.
don't know, but it was so unique.
Right.
I think she put a little sugar in that sauce too, but I don't know. But to this day, I've just never had anything like
Yeah,
it.
it
Is
sounds
that,
good.
have you encountered that at all? Is that a
Yeah,
thing?
no, a lot of people do that. That's just like a
Like stew meat almost or something.
right. So that'd be like a sugo, which is just like that's just like the general term for these meat sauces. And yeah, lots of people put different kinds of things of like thicker cuts of different beefs and stuff like that. And it's just like a different texture. It's something different than just like a normal ground meat product. You know, it's different. It's nice.
So talk about the white sauces too. We never had much of that in our family because I don't think my folks really dug it. And it's also
Yeah.
very caloric and very fattening. But
Yeah. Well, actually,
it's not
I mean, in America it is. Like Alfredo sauce doesn't really
Alfredo
exist
sauce, right?
in Italy. Like that's not
Oh,
like
really?
well
That's
in the
not-
way that we do it here. Like there's no cream or anything in it over there.
That's interesting.
Yeah, like over there it's just cheese and pasta water. Yeah, that's Alfredo. That's what it should be. That's like a very simple thing.
I did not know that.
Yeah, there's not all this like fat and stuff in there.
Leave it up to America.
Yeah. Like if you just like take your pasta out, put some pasta water in there, and work it right, and add the cheese, like you're gonna turn out with this really, really great dish. You don't need all this cream and butter and milk and all that stuff.
So we just made it richer.
Yeah, it's the American way.
Okay, so that's the white sauce, which is your Alfredo in
Right.
in the States.
Right,
here.
right.
What is it called in Italy?
I don't know what they would call it, to be honest.
Okay, and then there's obviously the tomato base or the red sauce.
Right.
There's also this thing where people are putting sauces like an oil and vinegar and balsamic vinegar, maybe.
Right.
What's
Well, there's the aglio olio, which is
aioli?
yeah,
okay.
like just oil and garlic. You can add chili flakes too.
Okay,
then you add a little bit of pasta water to that sometimes too, to kind of like almost make it creamy.
Okay.
That's a really, really popular sauce. And honestly too, just like a classic like pomodoro, like red sauce, like no meat is like
that they say marinara.
yeah, it's just super classic. Can't beat it.
Okay. Obviously, the kind of tomato has a
Right.
What's your thoughts on that?
I mean,
You have preference?
Yeah, I usually use just like the canned San Marzano. That's like usually like the standard. It seems to be like the best that you can get your hands on is the way to go.
Okay. Not that old red pack stuff. That's in every pizzeria.
Right.
And maybe in the kitchens of some of these restaurants too. They won't
probably.
admit it probably too, right? Yeah, I grew up in a family just loved pasta, but we were just consumers of it. Certainly, we weren't. They weren't exposing us to anything beyond that.
Right.
You know.
I think that's a lot of people though.
You think?
Yeah.
Why is that? Just because they're easy and convenience? I always thought it was
100%.
growing up. I know for our family, it was inexpensive to make. It was
Right. I think that's for everybody. It's like, it's an easy, quick meal. You know, you grab a box of pasta and a jar of sauce, you put it together, and that's it. Like, it's easy. It's convenient.
Yeah.
And it's kind of stood the test of time through all these generations of like everybody, you know, does it, you know?
So talk a little bit, if you will, about lasagna, because that's a whole different thing when you have baked pasta, right?
Yeah.
What's the circumstance there?
That's, I mean,
Or the shells. I mean, do you make shells? Like, will you make?
Yeah. So like, it's funny actually. I guess it was, I don't know when it was. I guess it started like 2 years ago. I just started making some lasagnas out of the house and started selling them to like friends and family. And then it turned out to be just like selling them to random people that just wanted to buy one because they saw it, you know, people posting about it. So I started just cranking out like trays of lasagna out of the house.
Okay.
And it was crazy because like I was making the noodles from scratch, like doing all the sauces, doing everything, and like it was a labor, you know, like it was a lot of work.
It was time consuming, right?
Yeah, to make like a fresh lasagna with fresh homemade noodles is like it's a lot. And then I was doing like, you know, 4 or 5 trays at a time, so it was a ton, but it was fun. And you know, I think that everyone kind of differs on like what they put into a lasagna, but like at its core it should be like the noodles obviously, and then usually like a bolognese, like the meat sauce, and then usually a bechamel, which is like it's pretty much like thickened milk.
Okay.
It's like a cream sauce kind of.
Okay. I'd never heard of that before.
Yeah, it should be those two, and then some cheese, so maybe some basil, extra basil if you want, and that's it. And then just kind of build up those layers.
You say cheese, like I've seen some people use ricotta cheese. I've seen some people just use traditional mozzarella.
Yeah, I'll do mozzarella. I usually don't do ricotta in it. I usually do it on top as like a garnish type thing.
Okay.
I usually let the bechamel stay inside, and then always lots and lots of Parmigiano Reggiano on top as like a nice finish.
All right.
You can't beat it.
All right.
Yeah, so I was just slinging a bunch of those out of the house. It was crazy.
I always liked, and this is going to sound ridiculous, I'm sure, to some, but I always liked leftover pasta because I used to like when it would get a little overcooked and it'd be a little,
I know
crusty.
what you mean. I know what you mean.
Is that like sacrilegious?
A little bit, but I do get it. I do get it. Like as a pasta maker, yes, I hate that, but as just a regular guy, I eat it all the time.
Yeah, and it's very easy to do when you
right.
When you have leftover lasagna or stuffed shells, because just
can't beat it.
The tech,
even just cold out of the fridge sometimes.
I know. I've had it for breakfast too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's something. It just can't be beat.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about what your plans are? Especially,
of course.
Peter's Pasta.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still trying to figure it all out. It's been a whirlwind. You know, when I left the restaurant in like March or April or whatever, the plan was to kind of like keep doing this whole content stuff full time, and then also work on building out the brand. And what I mean by that is like launching an actual product in a storefront. So the plan is to open up like a retail shop here in Pittsburgh that, like, you know, people can come in, buy their pasta, buy their sauce, go home and cook it. Whether it be fresh pasta, filled pastas, dried pastas, have all that there as like a little storefront. And then also sell the product nationwide, both through like direct to consumer shipping, just because at this point now, like, I have this huge audience that like I'm getting hundreds of messages a week of people wanting to buy my pasta. So
absolutely.
Like I'm trying right now to work very hard and very fast at making that available. Like
I bet.
While people want it, like I'm trying to provide that. So
I
that's
bet.
really important, just to kind of like get the product out there. But it's also like I'm trying to do my proper like research and everything to do it right. Like I'm not going to put out the product so fast just to put it out there when I'm not happy with it, you know?
No, I get it.
So that's why like these past couple months it's just been a ton of like almost R&D.
Yeah,
just trying to figure
your
things
own
out.
R&D.
Exactly. So it's been fun, but yeah, just kind of like keep building the brand up, keep obviously doing content and stuff, because that's like, it's gotten me to where I'm at now, and I'm seeing this huge like wave that's still happening. Like I'm still feel like I'm like just riding up this wave, you know? So
I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah,
in terms of the explosion of it.
It's crazy. It's really unbelievable. Like what it's done. Like I tell people all the time that TikTok changed my life, and it's weird to say, but it's so true.
Sure.
You know,
Sure, it is.
It's nuts, but it just kind of shows the power of these social platforms and the power of the internet. Like you put yourself out there, and sometimes just see what happens and see what can throw back your way, and you never know.
Well, the power of connectivity,
Right.
the ability to have the technology to reach each other, kind of like we're doing, which started with the internet, but obviously social
Right.
media ideas have been insane.
Right.
But I mean, it got to be a little overwhelming.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It
Has to be.
It's nuts. I still like don't understand things sometimes. Like I'm just a 27-year-old kid with a wife and a son. Like it's crazy. Like when I just realized like some of the opportunities that I'm able to like see come my way, or the people I'm able to meet. Like,
Can you talk a little bit about those?
yeah, I mean, the biggest one, like the biggest pinch me moment was when last year the NFL reached out to me, right? So, you know, as a chef content creator, I think that the brands that I can work with are like the apron companies or the knife companies or the pot and pan companies, like they're in the food space. That's what makes sense. And then, you know, prior to this, like as I'm building up my brand on TikTok, you know, I'm already like hashtagging Pittsburgh, and I'm making it very well known that I'm living in Pittsburgh. I'm a Pittsburgh sports fan. Like I just through like,
Absolutely.
you know, engaging with the teams on their socials and just how I am, you know, with the stuff that I do.
It's crazy.
And so sure enough, like last year the NFL reached out, and that kind of opened up my eyes to like, man, maybe I can like wear a Steelers jersey while I'm making pasta, and like it's like a very organic thing that doesn't seem like a sponsored thing or anything.
Of course. You're also a fan. You also live here.
Exactly.
It's very organic.
Exactly. Like they ended up putting a cardboard cutout of me at the Super Bowl because of all this like crazy stuff. Yeah.
Wait. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Because they couldn't have as many fans as they wanted because of COVID. So
you have photos of all that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Did you post that? How did I miss that?
Yeah, it's up there.
I gotta look at that. That is amazing.
Yeah. When I was bummed because they said that they were going to invite me to the game, but obviously with everything happening. But they were like, the next best thing is if you can get us a photo. And like they did, like sometimes the NFL is super like very last minute with it whenever I'd done stuff with them. And sure enough, they were like, we need a photo by today at 4 p.m. So I like texted one of my buddies who's a great photographer. I was like, yo man, I was at Ironborn. I was like, can you come down? I need a photo.
How incredible is that?
Yeah. So yeah, there's a cardboard cutout of me there. It was kind of cool. It's just like a really, really cool opportunity.
Yeah, that doesn't even seem possible.
I know.
It's so amazing.
Yeah,
it just goes to show you that anything is possible.
Right. It's unbelievable, you know.
Yeah, the branding, and you've been very good, I think, in your short term of doing this. You've been very, very cognizant of your branding.
Right. I mean, it's been really important to me to establish my brand and just be like very like I was looking the other day. It's a really crazy. I'm not as crazy about the analytics as I was, but like as I was growing, I was like really like tracking everything. And the other day I was just looking at the hashtag Pittsburgh on TikTok. It has, I think it was at like 960 million views on the hashtag Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And 7 out of the top 8 videos are my videos.
That's insane.
Like that's
insane.
That's insane, but that's like really good marketing by me by putting hashtag Pittsburgh on everything.
Course.
And so now when anybody there's almost 1 billion views on hashtag Pittsburgh.
That's incredible.
And I'm at the top. So it's just like, it was really important for me to like not just go on there and post like these random hashtags, be very like decisive on
specific.
Like hashtag Peter's Pasta, hashtag Pittsburgh have to be in there because that's my brand. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm building this Pittsburgh based pasta company. So like, that's what I want to portray. And like, it just kind of shot me to the top there, which it worked out.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah,
no doubt. Are you able to talk a little bit about the sponsors you're working with now on the food end? Yeah,
I mean, the biggest one, which you know anyone that's following me sees, is it's a company called Truff. They're a hot sauce company, and they're really. It's a company that they're really good at their marketing, especially with like influencers, content creators. Like they're just great at it. And it's owned by these 2 guys that they kind of have like very similar ideals as I do with hot sauce, as I do with pasta, where like they had saw the hot sauce aisles in grocery stores and they wanted to shake things up a little bit. And so they launched this company that is a black truffle infused hot sauce. And
a black truffle infused hot
Yeah,
sauce.
two things that don't really like. Black truffle is this very like high level ingredient. Hot sauce, like it doesn't really seem to go together, but it does. It goes together really, really well.
Okay.
And yeah, so I got to know those guys like a year and a half ago or so. Really enjoyed the product, and we just started doing stuff together, and it really just like at this point now, like people recognize me for doing content and stuff with them just because I'm a genuine fan of their product. And I just work it in so like well with like the biggest thing for me is whenever I do like any sort of like sponsored content, it can't feel sponsored, right? Like
Has
I'm
to
not
be natural,
right? I'm not going to read a script. I'm not going to if a company reaches out and says, hey, you need to say this, go to use code Ryan for 20% off. Like that's just not what I do. It's
I think most people are turned off by that stuff.
Yeah, I mean I am personally.
Yeah, I can't stand it.
I mean, whenever I watch a podcast or whatever on YouTube or whatever, I skip the first 5 minutes of ad reads. You know, it's just,
of course,
I get it, but it's like it's not for me. So it's just like companies like Truff is just like companies that understand that, and it's really just about finding companies that have those same ideals as I do when it that are willing to work with creators and stuff that want to be fans of the product and will promote them. And it's like those are the best relationships because like at this point now, like yes, I'm working with them, but I'm a big fan of their product, and I'm just going to speak well about it.
So there's genuine. See?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like I'm going to promote it even when I'm not working with it. You know, that kind of stuff. Like it's real stuff. Like I find myself at Whole Foods now. I sent a text to Nick, the owner, the other day. They have their product there.
They do?
Yeah. And I was just like, the bottles were like in the back of the shelf, so I was just pulling them all up front. Like I feel like it's like almost some sort of ownership to it. So
sure.
It's more of just building relationships and those connections.
Yeah.
So
who else?
The other big one is Zwilling.
Okay.
So Zwilling is
Zwilling.
Yeah. Have you ever heard? They have like Henkel's, the knife company.
Yes.
So Zwilling is the parent company. They own like Henkel's, they own Staub, like cast iron pans and stuff. So I've been doing some stuff with them, and that's been like those are my two like main ones.
Sure.
Of just like hot sauce one, and then this pot and pan company because they do pots, they do pans, they do appliances, they do knives, they do everything. So these are things that like I'm able just to like be using their pans in a video, and it's just it's funny because like you almost get better reactions to the product when you're not just like pushing it in someone's face and talking about it, because they're like, man, what is that pan? That looks really nice. Like,
well, they inquire.
Right, exactly. And it's more natural, and those are the people that are actually going to buy the product versus just like, hey, here's this pan, buy this please. Like you're almost begging at that point.
That's because I think most of us aren't born salespeople,
right?
If there is such an animal,
right?
And so anything that we do like that, I think, comes off contrived,
right? You feel like you're just reading what you're being told, and it doesn't work.
Right.
Yeah, so that's just another one that it works really well, and it makes sense for what I'm doing with pasta, like these pots, these pans, these knives, whatever. It just works.
Do you spend any time looking at other food influencers? I even hate to use that word. I know you don't like it either, but people that are out there doing something similar, or even things out of your genre. Like, would you look at these people that are living in the vans, and they're that's a big thing on YouTube, is van dwellers, and they're and there's some of them are got hundreds of thousands of followers on YouTube. That's a fucking chore,
right?
So they're having some success, but do you watch in terms of their presentation or how they deliver, how they mention their sponsors? Could that be helpful to you?
It maybe. I try not to. I mean, I mostly the content that I consume is like other food content stuff, and whenever I watch it more of just to enjoy it. I don't watch it to like try to draw inspiration or anything, because I feel like that does more harm to my stuff. Like I try to just like do what I do and not be influenced by others. Like it's just like everyone's going to kind of have their own way of doing things, and I think that's what makes it special. Like,
no doubt,
you know what I mean?
No
so
doubt.
that's kind of what I try to do.
No doubt. Whew. Did you have fun?
Of course, man.
This was awesome.
It was.
Yeah, I really appreciate you doing this.
Of course, man. I gotta get you some pasta. Actually, I have some in the car for you.
Oh, we're gonna get that. Yeah, for sure. And I would love to have you back.
Of course, I'd love to.
Naturally, to give updates on what you got going on. I'd love you to be part of my Four Friends series,
man, I'd love to.
We'll talk more on that.
Of course.
All right, and how can they reach you?
Yeah, I mean, TikTok.
Just if you can't find them on social media, you're not looking very hard.
Yeah, TikTok is Peter's Pasta, and then Instagram is Ryan Peters PGH, or peterspastapgh.com.
Just Google you, right?
Yeah, or just Google me. I don't know what else going to come up, but
I know we talked a little bit off camera about YouTube. Where are you with YouTube at all?
Yeah, the account's up. I haven't really posted much, but maybe this will motivate me to post some more.
Because we don't do it either. I guess I've been told by everybody that we're missing the opportunity to put our stuff on YouTube. So. Thanks, pal.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
All right.
I appreciate it.
All right, friends. We're out.
Hello, you're listening to the Eric McKenna Project.